Hello and welcome back to the Ohio SBDC Progress Not Panic 2020 video series. I'm your host Kevin Hammond of the Ohio SBDC at Columbus State Community College. Today's video is called Ready for Business, Advice for Small Businesses During Reopening. In today's expert interview video, we will be discussing the reality of the current small business economy and advice and guidance for small businesses preparing for reopening that's happening. I want to remind you that in each video in the Progress Not Panic 2020 series, we include a free resource which you can find below in the video description section. Today's expert interview guest is Rick Slark of Rick Slark Consulting. Rick Slark is a small business owner and certified business advisor. He consults with small businesses across a wide variety of industries, specializing in business development, strategic planning, sales, and scaling strategies. So let's all welcome Rick Slark. So we are here with Rick Slark of Rick Slark Consulting. Welcome, Rick, to the Progress Not Panic 2020 series.
Thank you very much. It's great to be part of what you guys are doing.
Yeah, we're happy to have you today. You're one of our expert interviews for this series. So Rick, with the small business climate, how it's been in the past and how it is now, I think you can give us a better look at that whole framework. What did the small business climate look like pre-COVID-19?
Yeah, it's a great question. I believe that it's really important to be able to get a 30,000-foot view of what's happening and what has happened prior. There's an old saying, military strategists have a saying that says you can't always choose the terrain that you're going to do battle in. But you just have to go at the battle. I add to that it's important for us to understand as well as we can the terrain that we are fighting in. So basically in 2019, Main Street business was absolutely on fire. It was amazing in 2019. The small businesses were excited. They were making revenue. And then as we entered into 2020, I can remember, it seems like a long time ago, it really wasn't, but as we entered into 2020, the momentum was amazing. Small business owners all across our state, for instance, were absolutely thrilled about the possibilities of 2020. Yep. And within 21 days, all of that optimism came to an end. It's amazing when you think about it. 21 days, it just stopped. Yeah. I remember when I was a kid, at the end of our driveway, we had this big rock, and this rock had our address painted on it. Well, all the neighborhood kids would take their bikes and try to jump over that rock. And I remember one particular day, I was riding as fast as I could. And I started to jump and I didn't get high enough and my front tire hit that rock. And needless to say, the bike just stopped. I went flying over the handlebars, but everything came to an end as far as the bike goes. And that is kind of how it happened with the economy in 2020. It was just like we hit an absolute wall. Yeah. I remember on Sunday night, Governor DeWine had kind of stopped everything. The sheltering in place was announced. And on early Monday morning, I was in a co-working space, and a friend of mine who owns a business, I saw him pull up. He didn't see me, but I could see him. And he turned the car off, and he just sat there for a second. And I could just see it in his face. So he gets out and he walks over to the building I was in, and we sat down and talked. And I was so amazed at how he was stunned. He literally had no idea what to do next. And as we talked, that's one of the things he said. He goes, Rick, I'm just going to take today and try to figure out I don't even know what hit me. And that's how a lot of the businesses were. They were absolutely stunned. So that brings us to now. I got a couple of stats that I've been working on. 72% of all small business owners say that business will never be the same for them currently. A CNBC survey said that 69% of small businesses have decreased in revenue in the past 2 months, and 49% of those say that revenue, and this is a funny word, but they say revenue has decreased a lot. I thought that was kind of interesting. Only 18% of small businesses who remained open say that they maintained the same amount of income. And 11% of those business owners said they actually increased during that. You know, we have to remember, not everybody has been devastated by it. 70% of us have, but there have been some businesses that have flourished and have made a lot of money.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So going forth now, as we now look at reopening, I think Governor DeWine said that by the end of this week, 90% of Ohio businesses will be opened, which is a great thing. But as we go forth and reopen this week, people are still a little uneasy. So here's what small business owners are saying now. 38% of small business owners expect the revenue to increase slightly in 12 months. That's 38% are saying it's going to increase slightly over the next 12 months. 37% don't see that. They see it decreasing in the next 12 months. Kind of interesting. And then 23% just kind of believe it's going to stay the same. So that's kind of where we are in the overview as we get to reopening.
Okay. So with all that, what are the most important things small business owners should focus on right now as they get ready to reopen their businesses?
So I think there's a lot of things, but keep in mind the boundaries. The boundaries is that we want to reopen and that we want to stay open. So as we're reopening in this period of time, I think it's important we focus on three things. Number one, of course, is safety. Safety for our employees, safety for our customers. The second thing would be profitability. We've got to be profitable. How are we going to be profitable in this environment? And then thirdly would be, how do we promote what we're doing now? Because our businesses are not the same. So how do we promote what we're doing now to the consumer? So as we reopen our business and keep it open, there's three areas of focus. The number one is safety. And let's talk about that for a little bit. Why is safety so important? First of all, because the safety of our employees, it's just the right thing to do. Our employees are our differentiation between our consumers and our competition. And we have to make sure that we get that right. So taking care of our employees and our customers is the right thing to do. Secondly, we've got to realize that a lot of our employees are going to be apprehensive about coming back to work. And it's really imperative we provide them provide a safe environment for them. We have to remember that customers are going to be really weary about coming back. And they're going to want to know that we as business owners have put in the highest degree of safety we possibly can in our procedures and in the way we do business. And so those are a couple reasons why safety is important. The other reason that safety is important is no one wants to talk about this, but it helps us to protect our business from litigation. None of us want to be able to have an employee or a consumer say, you didn't do everything you possibly could, and bring up some legal action against us. None of us want that. And then finally, it limits bad press. If we do everything we possibly can do, it helps us to not be on the radio or in the newspaper as failing to do what we needed to do. Nobody wants that either. So that's why safety is really, really, really important. And there's three areas that I think we should focus in on this area of safety. One of the things we have to remember is we can't control everything that happens with this COVID-19. There's a lot of unknowns, and there's a lot of things we cannot control, but there's a lot of things we can control, and it's those things we should focus on. So let's talk a little bit about what we should be focusing on in the area of control. Think of it like this: we have personal control. And so that personal control is hand washing, wearing a mask, social distancing, no touching the face, taking your temperatures, all those things that we have heard over and over that we should do. Those personal areas are what we can control. The second area that we can control are the business areas, the business controls. And so we look at that, you put all the aforementioned things that we talked about, the hand washing, mask, those kind of things. But we add to that sanitizing, monitoring our employees' health, adding barriers, adding procedures, and putting those in place if an employee does get ill. You know, the wrong time to figure out a procedure for how you're going to handle a sick employee is when they're sick. You need to have thought about that well ahead of time, for sure. Another way we could do business control would be staggering break times, outdoor, putting stuff out on the sidewalk or out in that area, outdoor seating, and limiting capacity. So a lot of those are ways we can work business-wise. Mm-hmm. A third area that I think is important, a lot of times we forget about, is the facility control. If you have a stone brick and mortar, when was the last time your HVAC system was checked out? When was the last time you replaced the filter? We do know that ventilation, circulation, and improving our filtering system are all go a long way in mitigating this disease. So personal control, business control, and facility controls are absolutely crucial.
Makes sense.
So the second area, I guess we've talked about that a little bit, is the profitability. So we've talked about safety and the ways to do that. We now talk about profitability, and hopefully all the listeners are doing this, the business people are doing this. So I'm going to run down a few things that I think are important about profitability and gaining some profitability as we go forward. The first one is frugality. We just need to be frugal. Mm-hmm. We keep in mind we are going to have to spend some money on social distancing procedures. Obviously, we're going to have some expenses we normally wouldn't have. But unless this has a really good return on investment, we should not be buying it at this point. And it's funny that we would even have to say that, but we really need to be frugal. Secondly, hopefully you've done this, is defer everything you possibly can. Defer your mortgage, defer your insurance, defer your credit card payments, whatever you could defer those things. If you haven't done that yet, really important to do. The third one would be to track your cash flow a lot more often than we normally do. And so it's really important to look at our cash flow and to let that be our driver for that. The fourth thing would be
For sure. I mean, that's one thing a lot of businesses just don't do hardly at all. They're looking at the P&Ls, but not the cash flow. And you're right. If anything, this is going to force them to look at that cash flow all the time, daily, hopefully.
Yeah. I really encourage them to do it at least weekly. But I think daily would be even better. But it's amazing how many people you run into that don't really pay a lot of attention to that. But I think it's super important, especially at this time, to do that. The fourth thing would be to reduce your variable and your fixed costs. But I want to put a little caveat to that. People ask me a lot, how far should I cut? And my thought is you should cut to the point that it doesn't degrade quality. You know, the quality of your business and the quality of your product is absolutely crucial. You certainly don't want to be cutting into the quality. And so you should try to get those things whittled down, your costs, but don't allow them to degrade your quality. I think that's really important. And I think if you go that route, it's going to be really harmful for you. Probably in all of these things, I think this next one is one of the most important ones that I see, especially in this time. And that is to prioritize your beneficial products and service offerings. So what are the top 2 or 3 product or services that you serve that are the most profitable for you? Figure that out and then circle the wagons around those products and or services. I think it's absolutely vital. As we enter back into the workplace, we're not going to be able to afford, most likely, to do everything. So limit what you do the best. What is most profitable? Circle the wagons around those. Do those with excellence. Do those with just excel at that area. And I think those are really, really important. And I like that, circling the wagon around those things and making sure we protect them and we take care of them. 6th thing would be revise the budget for 2020. I just think we really have to revise the budget for the whole year. The 7th thing would be to ask we have to be flexible, or we have to, what everybody calls pivot now. We have to be flexible. And here's 3 questions that I think everyone should be asking themselves. What should I continue doing? What should I discontinue doing? And what should I begin doing that I'm currently not doing? And the answer to that last one, probably, no matter what your business is delivery and curbside and delivery. I would say would be absolutely amazing, no matter what your business is. And then finally, in the profitability part, is to communicate. Communicate with your employees, communicate with your customers, your vendors. I'm a little worried. One thing we need to remember is that our supply chain may be a little bit disorganized, or we may have some trouble with that. And so I think it's really important that we communicate sooner rather than later with our supply chain, and then with the other people who are our team, the bankers, the lawyers, our CPAs, all those people. We should be communicating with that. And I know those things sound really simple, but I can't tell you how many people I've talked to that have not heard from their employer, or have not heard from, they just have no idea what's going on. And I think it's really important that we communicate, for sure.
Definitely. Yeah, I think right now just the communication is key, because everyone's just, the uncertainty is what weighs on a lot of people. If they have a little bit of communication, it takes away at least a little bit of that uncertainty.
Yeah, and these are not just small companies. These are some larger companies. And I'm like, what? You mean you haven't heard from them, or you haven't? It's amazing to me. The things that sometimes you and I think are just absolutely normal, right, don't occur. So the 3 areas we've talked about were the safety, and for our employees and for our customers, profitability, and just these simple things we've talked about. And then the final thing I think we need to think about and to focus on is our promotion. And just real quickly about that, I know that, again, we were just talking about simple stuff. Let people know, let your customers know that you are open, and when you are open. I'm amazed at how that is. People just assume they're going to find out. So that sounds really simple. But when we're open for business, publish your hours, do those kind of things. The second thing is talk to people about what your services are going to be. Are you going to have your limited service offerings? Just simple things. People want to know what you're going to be offering, and are you doing curbside? The other thing is explain your process. One of the things we did was we had never ordered groceries online. But during this time, we decided to do that. So we ordered the groceries online, and then I was going to go pick them up. Now, this is a large grocery chain. And so the next day I get in my car and I go over to the store, and I'm parked in front of the store, and I have no idea where the part where you're supposed to pick up your groceries. And I felt like, really silly. And it wasn't marked anywhere. And finally, somebody walked across the parking lot that looked smarter than I am. And I asked them, and they told me where I was. Well, it's around the corner, but it wasn't marked well. And the point that I'm making is that people do not like feeling uncertain. They do not like not knowing the process. And if we can remove that sense of apprehensiveness, it will go a long way in serving our customer.
Definitely, no doubt.
So, and then the final thing is what we should be promoting, excuse me, what safety protocols are in place? How are you promoting the safety of your business? I think people want to know that. Am I required to wear a mask when I go into your business? I want to know that ahead of time. I want to know what to expect. Mm-hmm. Are there only going to be 10 people allowed in the business? Mm-hmm. We need to promote those things and give our customers the most information that we possibly can. And they're already going to be leery, and they're already going to be a little apprehensive. So let's give them all the information that we possibly can to help them feel a little bit safer.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, and that's going to help them get more customers coming back if they know those procedures and what to expect. Because I'm with you. If I don't know, I mean, how prepared should I be before I go there? But if you're telling the customers that ahead of time and have it clearly marked someplace on their social website, other places you've mentioned too, that's the key thing.
There's a local town not far from me. It's called Yellow Springs. Mm-hmm. And they have been promoting on their Instagram that if you're coming to Yellow Springs, you better have a mask on. I mean, they have just been telling you exactly what they expect from you. And I think that's really helpful. Agree or disagree, that's not the point. They are informing you of what their expectations are, and I think that is so helpful to know as a customer.
It is, yeah, because there's no clear-cut statewide mandate on those things, which I think it's okay as long as the businesses are letting folks know, or the towns or whoever's making those choices. As long as we know ahead of time, then we have that information. We can make the choice to go or not go. But that's, having that clarity, like you're saying, I think is key.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's really, really important. And then the last thing I'll say about promotion is just kind of the methods of it is update your Google My Business page. That's probably one of the most important things is to the Google My Business is to keep the updates. It's the number one way people are looking at where you are. I believe it's something like 40% of small businesses don't even have a website, so they can use that as that. For sure, update your website, do your social media stuff. Hopefully you have an email because it's really important to have that, and it's successful to use that. And then simply your POS system, if you have a POS system, use that to send out your anniversaries, your birthdays, promote couponing, and those kind of things are all good ways to promote and inform your customers.
Definitely. Those are just again, more communication is what you're talking about there. And having that communication again is going to help the businesses, because it's going to help the customers feel comfortable coming there. They're going to know what to expect. They're going to know how to get a hold of you. And so some of the basic stuff we would typically tell our businesses, just have that stuff there. It's so much more important now, like what you're saying, to have that stuff clear.
Yeah, absolutely. And the final thing I want to say is just I appreciate what the government has done with the SBA loans and the 2.5 and all the things that they are doing. But the reality is that it is the marketplace. It is the entrepreneurs. It is the business owners with their ingenuity and their wisdom and their guts and their execution that's going to pull us out of this.
Yes.
And I think it is absolutely vital for the businesses in Ohio to stand up and to make it happen. It's our time to do that.
No doubt. Yeah, I agree with you so much on that. And I know you're like me. We believe so much in our small businesses across Ohio, the entrepreneurial spirit they have. And you're right, they're the ones that have always been the backbone of our economy anyway. And they're the ones that's going to get us, back to where we were, back to, a normal that's even better, I believe, than what it was before. So I'm right there with you with that. Great. Well, thank you so much, Rick, for today's information. We really appreciate your time. This has been wonderful. We're going to give Rick's contact information at the end of this as well. So again, Rick, we thank you very much for joining us today and giving us these great points. I know the audience is going to love it. It's so timely right now. And again, we appreciate your time and thank you very much.
Well, Kevin, thanks for all you guys do. You're an amazing organization. I've always been a fan. And so I appreciate the opportunity to just share a little bit with you.
Great. Thank you very much. We'll talk to you soon.
All right.
All right. Thank you. Bye. We want to thank Rick Slark for joining us today on the Progress Not Panic 2020 video series and giving small businesses expert guidance so that they're ready to reopen, to thrive, and re-energize our economy. The free resource that I mentioned is available below in the video description section, which is a business solutions planning worksheet that I think you'll find helpful. Once again, I want to say that we believe in all the great small businesses in Ohio and know that you will continue to be the foundation of our great economy and communities. Thank you again for everyone watching today. I hope today's video was helpful. I think it was really great. I think Rick gave us some great stuff to think about. Please click that subscribe button there below. Feel free to leave any comments, any ideas you have for future videos and topics you would like to hear. Glad to hear anything you have to say. And once again, thank you. We'll see you next time. Bye.